What you're about to experience are my opinions and truths. I'm suggesting these possibilities for you to consider, enabling you to come up with your own conclusions.
Rabbi Rateport is a scribe. He writes Torah. So I got a question for you. Look at these Hebrew letters. What are those crowns on the top of the letters? Is that how all Hebrew is written?
That is to beautify the Torah. Longer, and they would make it like a round, half a circle.
Is there any meaning in the crowns?
There is tons of meaning in it, but we don't know.
So that's for the Kabbalists.
Yes.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, fellow decoders around the world, wherever you may be. My name is Logan, and I'm going to be your tour guide for this presentation on the topic, the Serpent of Mercury. Serpent of Mercury Decoded. I have a jam-packed, gem-filled presentation for all of you. Put on a pair of headphones, block out the outside world. This one will once again deliver to you great satisfaction on connecting the dots with the esoteric. We have a lot of different layers to this decode. And I wanted to, honestly, when I created the folder for this decode, it was this. This is what the title of the decode was going to be. But because I didn't want to offend anybody, people are so sensitive these days, I just renamed it to this, which now you know is what this means. So Lucifer, the serpent, Mercury, all tied together, and religion, Lucifer, all tied together. They are one and the same. They are one and the same. That's why Lucifer is in theology, because it is part of religion. That's where it originates from. So this is what I wanted to call it, but again, let's jump into this, and I want to bring out to all of you, instead of the methodologies, because now most of you have been paying attention, I want to just talk about what I'm going to be connecting during this presentation. So we have mathematics. We're going to be talking about different languages. That's going to lead into numerology, theology, mythology. We're going to get into the periodic table and chemistry and alchemy. We're going to be bringing science into this, and then the cards, the playing cards and tarot, we're going to be bringing into this. So it's just really as simple as this, ladies and gentlemen. This is how our world works. This is why decoding really is an easy thing to do when you have all the tools laid out, because you're just simply connecting things. For instance, if you look at over here to the right, bottom right, these little balls would represent the tools that you're going to use. So for instance, if this is your birthday, this would be your name numerology. This would be the latitude, longitude of where you live. This would be the school that you grew up in. This would be, your parents. This would be your birth card. This would be your tarot card, your astrological chart. It's just really that simple. So when I connect all of these layers here, we're just going to be doing 1 to 1, 3 to 3, 4 to 4, 34 to 34, using these layers. Okay, that's how simple it is. And we live in this web. If you're a member at Patreon, and I want to say thank you to everybody over there that's been donating and supporting this great research. Well, I had a big decode come out called the Net of the Gods. And that was a big reveal. And this literally is the matrix, the all-seeing eye of Shalom Ra. I showed that the flower of life is in here as well. The as above, like the web that wants to catch you. That's why in theology, Jesus was a fisher with the apostles. They wanted to catch you in this web right here. And then you get into the DNA, and this is right here. This is the fish. The deoxyribonucleic acid is the fish. It's the serpent. It's Jesus. It's Lucifer. It's Prometheus. It's the sun, the moon, Jupiter. It's all of this stuff. It's all part of the web, the spider web. So that's just really what we're going to do. So let me jump into this, ladies and gentlemen. I'm going to bring out some, groundbreaking material. Now, in the beginning of this video, you saw a scribe, and it was a short video, and this is what I had found and why I wanted to give you that video in the beginning, because these scribes who create the Torah, they write by a lot of them by hand. They create the letters. And Hebrew, is really Aramaic is such a fascinating language because of all the different functionalities of it. But one day I came across a letter when I was really looking into it in a deep layer, and one of them was Gimel. Now, if you've watched my Staff of Lucifer, I showed that Gimel and Nun, this is the third letter and this is the 14th letter, that's pi, that's 3.14. But this is what I was studying, and I realized that it came down to this. If you'll read with me, and that's what the video was in the beginning, it says the Tagan or the Tagan are small crowns adorning 7 Hebrew letters that are found in Torah scrolls, the Tefillin, and the whatever that word is. I'm not going to try to, my Hebrew's not that great. They hold deep mystical and symbolic significance. Rooted in Kabbalistic and Talmudic teachings, they are seen as conduits of divine wisdom. So if you're a fan of the Tree of Life, I've already broken that down. Beast 2.0 broke it down in there. The Kabbalists, the Kabbalah, Jewish mysticism. That's where do you think the Kabbalists come from? The Torah. They come from the Bible, the Old Testament. So anything you get from the Kabbalah, it's going to directly connect to the Torah and the Hebrew language. But this was so very interesting that it was 7 letters only that had these little crowns on top of them. So it's Gimel, Tet, Zayin, Nun, Ayin, Sadi, and Shin. These 7 letters only. And then here is the 22 letters in the Hebrew alphabet. I should have had it reversed, but I was too lazy to flip it. Aleph through Tav, okay? So this is what we're going to start with. And I'm going to show you something that's absolutely mind-blowing. And, you heard in the beginning that it was like a big mystery what these crowns are. And you got to be a Kabbalist to figure it out. Well, not anymore. And again, I don't take any credit for this stuff because I'm just being shown this stuff. So whatever's using me as the channeler here, that's what gets all the credit. So I'm going to start with simply matching up the menorah. Now, if you don't know what this is the menorah for the temple. There's a menorah that you can use, a 9-candle menorah. This is the menorah for the temple. And this is talked about in Exodus, the book of Exodus, the second book, duality, chapter 25. And it tells the instructions on how to make this thing. You got to make it out of pure gold. Okay, there's got to be 3 branches on the left and 3 branches on the right. Then you get that one in the middle. So I just simply connected it one day. And when I show you what I'm showing you, folks, your mouth's going to be on the floor, man. This is mind-blowing stuff. So this is what we're going to connect. And I know this is a really big thing. So down at the bottom, these are the letters from the Hebrew that have the little crowns on top. Okay? And then we're just going to simply look at the middle section here first. Because this obviously in the menorah is the standout, the centerpiece, the middle pillar, if you will. And, we go from right to left in Hebrew, but it doesn't matter if you were to go left to right. Nun is going to always be in the center. And you could see that it is the 14th letter. Nun, right here. The 14th letter, and it's going to be letter number 4. We have 4 blood types. We have 4 corners of the earth. We have 4 seasons. So we're just going to look at what can we connect to this? What is this telling us? Is this a thing? Yeah, absolutely it is. It's a big thing. And then, in the English, just for fun, right? We have nuns. Now you can bring in Catholicism and Christianity and the nuns, just pronounced a different way. Is that a thing? Of course. They wear the black and the white, as does the priest, the bishops. But ladies and gentlemen, look at the total outcome for all 7 letters here through the original Hebrew language, using the double digits. It's the freaking 88. We'll come back to that 14, that nun. Mark my words. But look at what it is. It's the 88. And you should automatically know what this means. This was a huge clue here. And we just now we connect chemistry, right? Science. That's all we're doing. Numerology now to science. So letters, language, numbers, science. And now we have these two elements that give us the 88. We have strontium. It's going to be isotope 87.96, but this is isotope 88, no matter if they show you the 87. And it's tied to the word phoenix in the ancient Greek. This thing, I had it recreated, but if you go look at the original one, right here, it's got an explosion on it. Because it talks about this being discovered after a nuclear fallout. A nuclear fallout, and Phoenix is right there. Nuclear, the Phoenix event, hello. I mean, does it get any more obvious than that? And then, of course, we know that Ra has got the 88 protons. So all 7 of these, which are special letters in Hebrew, in the Kabbalah system, that have the crowns on them, they end up adding up to the number 88. And the Phoenix, coincidence? Of course not. 7 colors of the rainbow, 7 days of the week. No, there's no coincidences. Again, as a code breaker, we just connect with the tools that we have. So let's keep connecting. So we're going to go and we're going to start looking at this center point now. Now I want to look at Nun, right? Nun gets all the attention because it's in the middle. And what is Nun in Hebrew? It's the freaking serpent. That's why this decode's called the Serpent of Mercury. And Lucifer is known as the serpent. That's why I had it the other name. Nun is a hieroglyph and it's a serpent. If you're somebody who's watched Dr. Hillman's material, if you go to his channel, he's calling himself the Nun of Nazareth. That's what he has right on his channel. The Nun, the snake of Nazareth. That's what he claims himself to be. And he plays with snakes and he's all tied to Lucifer and all that stuff. Absolutely. So let's talk about the serpent. It's obviously so big in our culture. I mean, if you go and read some of the Old Testament, Moses holding up the staff and he had the serpent, and if you looked at it, you would be saved. So there's saving with the serpent. But it's a 43, serpent is. And 43 is a prime number. And there it was, ladies and gentlemen. It's the 14th prime number, which is tied to Nun. These are the two formats of it. This is kind of the lowercase and the uppercase. Look at this is a serpent right here, folks. You can't miss it. So this is a big deal, a really big deal, a super big deal, a humdinger of a humdinger. Besides the 88. Besides that, remember Ra has a serpent on the sun on top of its head, the falcon's head. We're going to get to that. Right? So 43 being serpent is the 14th prime number. We know God is 14, Satan is 14, time is 14. All of those in Chaldean numerology. So we're going to measure this. Again, we're just going to connect now. Now that we know that Nun is tied to the serpent, right there, tied right to it through mathematics, and it sits in the middle of that menorah. So now I'm just going to take this letter from Hebrew and move it into chemistry. So what is the 14th element on the periodic table? Silicon. Now we could have easily, if we go to the periodic table, we could have easily gone to nitrogen. There's the 7, there's the 14, and if you are a fan of Manly P. Hall says the numbers of Lucifer are 741. They're right there on nitrogen. Okay, right there. And 7, avenged sevenfold, 7 colors of the rainbow. The great dragon got hurled down, light. The light bringer, Lucifer, Jesus, the light of the world. They're all one and the same, folks. It's all the same thing, just different deities, the names of them. So what is up with Silicon? How about Silicon is the technology capital of the world? Technology capital of the world is Silicon Valley. And when you go to numerology, which I didn't even include in this, and you type in technology, you're going to get 43. So the serpent is tied to wisdom. Technology is the advancement of wisdom, which is tied to the tree of knowledge of good and evil. Clearly, that's what this means. And we know that 28, when you go to Chaldean numerology, we know that Lucifer is 28, as is architect, because the serpent is light. It's also tied to Mercury, and we're going to get into that. So let's keep going. Let's see what else we can connect here. So this is a big one. So just follow along with me here. This is called the Serpent of Mercury. So Mercury is a 23, which matches the numerology of Silicon. And Silicon has Lucifer right there. Silicon represents the future, technology. Moving away from the spiritual sense, you're moving into the path of sin, because technology moves you away from the God force. This is the 14th card. We just again connected dots, the Ace Clubs card. And that converts into the Ace of Wands, which is the 23rd card in the tarot, and it just goes right back to Mercury. So there's a big layer here of stating that the serpent is tied to Mercury. And Mercury in the astrological chart will tell you the way that you think. Mercury is the communicator. It is the god of commerce. It's the trickster. Well, the serpent is the trickster in Genesis. So Mercury and the serpent and theology and astrology obviously are undoubtedly connected here, since Mercury's the trickster and the serpent is the trickster in Genesis. And we end up becoming deoxyribonucleic acid. And that's where we get the 23andMe, the chromosomes. The chromosomes, ladies and gentlemen, right there. This is abracadabra. And so now what we're just going to simply do, so now you see all those amazing connections, undoubtable connections, tied to Judaism. The serpent is tied to Lucifer. Lucifer is tied right to the serpent, as is Jesus. But the 14 and the 23 is called the royal star of the lion. Could Mercury be the royal star of the lion? You know, 23 is the luckiest number in numerology. There's no such thing as luck, but a lot of people think that 23 is the most luckiest number there is. But nonetheless, ladies and gentlemen, let's take a look at the card system. And I'm going to turn to the Master Life Spread, where we start at ground zero. This is your ego card here. And then I'm going to go to Solar Spread number 14, where the cards move to match the Nun, the 14, and Silicon. And if we go here, ladies and gentlemen, and we look to the 14th card, there's that Ace of Clubs, right? The card 14 right here. It's right here. And what row is it sitting in? Mercury's row. It's Mercury and Venus. And over here in Solar Spread 41, we have the Two of Hearts. And the Two of Hearts and the Ace of Clubs, just so you know, they just flip positions every year. They don't move around like the other cards. And what's really fascinating is the current Pope of the Vatican, Pope Francis, this is his birth card right now. Born on December 17th. And 17 is the same birthday as Thomas John Ellis, who they casted to play Lucifer. Right? At the Vatican, you go into Vatican Hall, and there's a big face of a serpent on there. No brainer. Now, I'm not saying anything negative about it. I'm just showing you the connections and telling you the connections. What this forms with the tarot now is it tells you a story, you see. And it tells you about a contract that you have, that I have, by way of magic. And this is called the Hollywood tree. And Hollywood is on the silver screen just like we are. We are in a reality TV show. It's called Earth. It's a video game. It's a movie. And this is the Hollywood card. As a matter of fact, ladies and gentlemen, when you go and you type in Hollywood, you're going to get the match to technology and the serpent. The Hollywood tree. This is the Hollywood right here. That's what this means. And you're under a contract, a partnership. There's the Two of Cups right there. It's the 38th card in the deck. This is the second card representing duality, but it turns into the 38th card in the tarot, and there's the partnership. These cups are the diabolos. This is the Taurus field. And remember that number 38, we just go back up here, and there it is, the 38, which has the 88 on it, which is the Phoenix event. So we're all going to be part of that Phoenix event. It's just the changing of the ages, the changing of the board, the changing of the game through magic. Remember that the word blood, the word blood is 23, which is tied to this abracadabra magic card right there, the blood. So the story of the serpent that deceived Eve in that context was instituting deoxyribonucleic acid, DNA. That's what it was instituting. And it's the noon, okay? The noon, the serpent, and Mercury's here because it's in Mercury's eye. Now Venus is, as a say in it, because Venus is spirited to matter with the circle with the cross. It's just interesting with Mercury. Mercury's got the little devil horns there. I've talked about Mercury so many times a long time ago, it perhaps being the great dragon, the prince of darkness. Mercury being the way you think. All right, but let's keep going and start connecting a little bit more. Let's go now back to, and I'm going to show you some groundbreaking material, folks. So again, just simply looking to connect things to what has already been established. We have these 7 letters that only have the crowns on them. Out of all 22, there are just 7. 7 divided by 22 is going to give you pi. There's so many ways to look at this. But now what I'm going to do is I'm going to take the only 2 elements, the only 2 on the entire periodic table, on this thing right here. There are only 2 elements that have 7 stable isotopes, meaning that these isotopes do not decay when you leave them out in the open air. They're stable. And that's a big deal in chemistry. They're not radioactive. They don't decay. They're stable. And so I just match them up, starting over with the least to the highest, just like Gimel to Shin. And what is representing the noon, the serpent? Mercury and Xenon. So here they are, folks. These 2 are the only 2 that have 7 stable isotopes. Okay, remember, we're human. 7 colors of the rainbow. We're spirit into matter, light into matter. Color. When you go to human, folks, we spell it like this. But can you spell it like that? Yeah, of course. Human, 26. And what is 26? Adam and Eve. Now, it doesn't matter if they're real people. It's in the code, man. That's what it's in. It's in the code, and we have source here. Source is 26. What are the source of the cult? I could go on and on. This is iron, our blood, etc., right? So these 2 elements are a big freaking deal right here. So let's take a look at these, the context of these 2 elements. How big is Xenon? Comes from the Greek word xenos. It means stranger. Now, if the serpent is tied to your brain and your deoxyribonucleic acid, then the stranger is going to play out here. And then how about Mercury? Look at the image that they've used here. And again, look at the devil horns on this. I know it's a half crescent moon, but still. But what does it say here? The image is the dragon or serpent in the background. It comes from early alchemical drawings and is often associated with the element. The dragon or serpent tied to Mercury, the way that we think. So you have Xenon and we have Mercury together right here. These 2. And I just put out a decode on You Are God, and that was ended up leading to the number 54. Because we had this big humdinger from Exodus 32:30, which is Jacob talking, saying, I have now come face to face with God. And the pineal gland is the pineal gland. So now you have a connection between Mercury, the pineal gland, the face of God, Zeus, because Zeus is in there as well. And we also have a connection to the tree of life. This is just using Hebrew now. The original scripture from Genesis 2 verses 9. God creating the tree of life, the Elohim. And there's the 80 for Mercury, and there's the 54 for Xenon. How about that? I mean, what a coincidence, right? This is huge, that this sits in the dead center of this menorah. And there are 7 colors of the rainbow. And this sits in the temple that was instructed to be created. So Mercury being tied to the way you think, and Xenon being tied to the Christ. Because here is the word Christos, which means to be anointed. Well, you go back up to this menorah, like this is the anointed pillar because it sits above the other 6. This is the anointed pillar, folks. The serpent is the anointed pillar. So now you have Jesus tied to the serpent. And I've already shown Jesus talking in Revelation 3 verses 16, saying, if you're not going to play, I'm going to spit you out of my mouth. That's the serpent's mouth, folks. Okay, that's what this whole thing means. And it means stranger. So now you have Jesus being the voice in your head. You have Lucifer being the voice in your head. You have Mercury being the voice in your head. And the serpent, folks. And this letter Nun is a big deal. There's the serpent, folks. One of the 7 crowned letters. Okay, these are huge markers. There it is in the Aramaic. It's a serpent. You can't miss it. It's really easy to see. So when we start to connect more dots, and we're going to get into now the deoxyribonucleic acid. And you see, again, the serpent is 43. And the 43rd prime is the 191. And 191 in science is identified with our DNA. The sequences of the DNA. Right there, man. This is why you have Jesus saying, your father is of the devil. The devil's tied to the serpent. But yet, the contradiction is that Christos is tied right to the serpent itself. So again, I think it's just a big Ponzi scheme. It doesn't matter anyway because we're living through predestination, but we're figuring out how all this stuff works. Let's keep going with this. This right here is another big humdinger. You start to study science, folks, and the words that go with science. Again, everybody would have to be on the conspiracy to try to get all these things like this. You know my take on this. Mankind is being used. So just go do you. But the nucleotide is the brick, as it says. It's the building block of DNA. So it's the origin. And the origin word is the same match as the word serpent. It's just so crazy. I mean, there's the Nun right there. There's the Chet and there's the Shin. This is like 21 is tied to creation. Shin and Shalom and sin. Already covered those in the as above, so below using that 21. 21's tied to the word love. It's tied to the world card in the tarot. But these are absolutely huge right here, tied to our DNA, folks. The serpent being tied to our DNA. So when you start to do the numerology of this, which I've covered in my DNA Decoded, I've covered this now in countless videos. Deoxyribonucleic acid, deoxy, demon, deoxy, demon. It gives us the 69. And that is a match to the word Ophis in the Greek. So the Greeks call the serpent Ophis. The 69th card in the tarot is the 5 of Pentacles, which is the yin-yang card. It's the game of life. That's what it is. And when you go to the book of Genesis, in the beginning, right? And you look at these first 4 verses. The 4th verse, folks. I know that you were talking about light and dark, right? We're talking about the sun and the moon and, separating those. But how about the separation between the yin yang and what this verse is talking about? Remember, this is the 4th verse. The 4th verse of God dividing the light from the darkness. And you come back up here, and this is the 4th letter that sits right in the middle of that pillar. The crown jewel is Nun. And it's Mercury and Xenon, the way you think and the voice in your head, folks, tied to Christ, the anointed. That's what Christos means, the anointed. Okay, that menorah is the anointed. And the Nun, that middle pillar. So what I decided to do, this is the King James Version. I went back, I'm going to go and we're going to study the deoxyribonucleic acid now. I went into the Torah. Because in the Torah, there is no it's this language. No, it's Greek. It's the Septuagint. It's the Greek Codex. It's the Greek language. No, there's only one way to read the Hebrew. It's printed out one way. So there's not different versions of it. There's just the Torah and the Old Testament. So it's easier to decode from. So I took the 2 base pairs of our DNA right here. And I'm going to do the same thing that I've been doing now with the Tower of Ra, the Watchtower, the Jehovah's Witness, showing that the Yod is Ra, and Ra has a serpent on its head. I went 106 letters in the Torah. Genesis, 1 verses 1. This is 1 verses 2. This is 1 verses 3. And just a smidgen of 1 verses 4, which is why I showed you these. So we're tapping into this word "and" in the 4th verse, but it's still using 1 through 4. 4 blood types, right? 4 blood types. And so not only do we have 106 letters here, but look how many words we have. 20 freaking 8. And what is 28? Lucifer. It's Lucifer, folks. And on top of that, the 106 being tied to our DNA, what letter is here? What letter occupies the 106th space? Well, it's Rish or Resh, which is where Ra comes in from. This converts into the letter R. In Hebrew, it's Resh or Rish. It's the 20th letter in the Hebrew alphabet, folks. And we know that 20 is a big deal in Chaldean because when we go to Chaldean, the 20 is tied to duality. So when I see duality, this is duality, and this is the 106th letter in the Torah. I mean, does it get any more clearer? I mean, look at, besides this, some of you are like, holy shit, there's the 1111. Yeah, this, now you know what it means. Now you have an extra layer to see. The 20th letter occupies the 106th letter in the Torah, and that's tied to our DNA, and duality is 20? Come on. And on top of that, we have birthday is 20? And on top of that, we have the Mason is 20. On top of that, we have the pawn is 20. On top of that, we have matter is 20. We have this right here. Oh no, mouse is 25. I thought mouse was 20. But 20s. 20 is calcium, our bones and teeth. There's our bones and teeth right there, ladies and gentlemen. Okay, that's why the skeleton's on the dance floor. So these connections. Again, this is not the first time I've done this. Now you can see the hidden code, and you can break the code now by looking at all these layers. But wait, there's more. Let's keep going with this. So the Rish is a big deal, right? This means duality. It means Ra. It means repeat. It means reincarnation. It means our DNA, the 2 base pairs of our DNA, which is the 69 right here. Deoxyribonucleic acid, which is the serpent. Ophis. Okay, the serpent. Well, when you study the Rish or the Resh in the full gematria now, you go to the triple digits. A big clue emerges because it's 510. And I thought it was so fascinating because I had this memorized. There's the Yod Hey, which is Ra. It's right there. Yod is 10 and He is 5. It's 510. It's right there, ladies and gentlemen. And what does Rish mean? The head. The head. Ra, the Godhead. Ra, the sun god, the head of it all. And Rish and Ra is to repeat. And Rhenium. This is so groundbreaking, ladies and gentlemen. It was so groundbreaking for me to, I'm so enamored by finding this stuff. So let's move into Mercury now, right? How big of a role Mercury has, the way you think. If you look to your astrological chart, I'll tell you a lot about how you function. Well, this element right here, Mercury 199, which is part of its 7 stable isotopes, which is part of that menorah, is a prime number. It's the 46th prime number, which is tied to double freaking helix. You can see there's the tree of life. There's 80 right there. But if you just look this is of life, you get the 46, 46, 46. So the tree of life is the double helix. So now it's like, okay, I want to have eternal life. I want to get the tree of life. You're going to be in duality. That's what the double helix means. Separating the night from the dark, the light from the dark. Coming from ribonucleic acid, which is just a single strand. This reduces all the way down to the number 8. And 8 is the prison. Okay? That's what it is. And you're in a mental prison. So when you look at ribonucleic acid now, the programmer, the messenger of deoxyribonucleic acid, here it is right here, it's a single strand. It moves it into a double strand. And this is probably what it meant in the Torah where it says God made Adam go to sleep and he took a rib and he made the woman, and the woman became the deoxyribonucleic acid. And this is why Eve is the one who bit the apple first, to move him into duality. See how all these stories end up meshing together. But that when you move into deoxyribonucleic acid, you can see the number 8 right there. I have it highlighted in red. And why I have the number 8 there is because the reduction of Chaldean ribonucleic acid, its root number is 2. 4 plus 7 is 11. 1 plus 1 is 2. And then 69 is going to reduce down to the number 6. And what's 2 plus 6? It's 8. So the ribo goes into the deoxyribo, and you now have the demon, the little devil called you and I. And the 6 is carbon. That's what it is. And this is helium. So it's the sun becoming carbon. And the sun's tied to the serpent because Ra has a serpent on its head. And Mercury's in there. These are huge deals, folks. And remember, 2 and 6 is source. Yod-Heh-Vah-Heh is 26. All that kind of stuff. So when you look at the ribonucleic acid and you look at the deoxyribonucleic acid. Now we already did the deoxy, it's the 106, but what about the ribonucleic acid? Instead of the thymine, it has the uracil here. And that's a 97 and a 106, so I just go to mathematics. 509 is the 97th prime number, 59 is the game of life, and 577 is the 106th prime number. So I'm just going to add them up. And there it is. 1086. Well, now what can I connect to that? Go back to chemistry. Right there. Bam! Tungsten. It's light slowed down into physical matter. Light is becoming. They used to make light bulbs with tungsten. That's why the light bulb is the so below sun. And Mercury is the best buddy of the sun. And there is the biggest clue of them all, folks, which I covered in my Terrence Howard Decoded. I covered this, that right here, let me just show you these more screens. Ribonucleic acid contains 5 elements: hydrogen, carbon, nitrogen, oxygen, phosphorus, as does DNA. They both contain the same 5 elements. So you go to the molar mass, you add them up, right? We're doing the molar mass now. We're doing alchemy, and what do we get for a total? 74, which is the 74 protons right there. This right here is the 10 of Pentacles in the tarot, which converts into the 36th card in the cards of illumination, the 10 of diamonds, which converts to Jesus Christ. I told you, you're having the Jesus Christ experience. It's a Lucifer Jesus experience. These are big deals, folks, found from this right here, from the this is undeniable with these mathematical equations. That's why whatever created this reality, it created it with mathematical precision, genius precision. And to me, as a code breaker, I'm a huge fan and I'm enamored of it. I can't get enough. I just think it's so beautiful when you look at how amazing this code is. Okay? So these were two big layers here, but let's go a little bit deeper. So we have the 5 elements that make up deoxyribonucleic and ribonucleic, and that gives us the number 74. And I can just go to the Gregorian calendar. Now, again, we're just simply looking for connections. That's all it takes to decode. So the Gregorian calendar is one of my layers that I use. Well, which day of the year is the 74th day? We got to look to common and leap years. So March 14th, which is Pi Day. Pi is the pineal gland, tied to the voice in your head, tied to light and dark, tied to God separating the light from the dark. It's day 73 and 74, and then you got to move into March 15th to get to the common year of 74. And 15 and 14 is 29, and I just go back up here, and you can see that deoxyribonucleic is going to be a 2 and a 9. I mean, ribonucleic acid right there. You just got to look. You got to have a really good, careful eye with all this kind of stuff. So the 29's right there. But then how about the cards that are paired with the March 14th and March 15th? To give us a match to that 74, what can the cards tell us? It's the 9 of diamonds and the 8 of diamonds. Lucy in the sky with diamonds. This is card number 35 for March 15th to get the common year. This is the 34th card in the deck to get to the leap year. We know simulation equals 35. And wait till you see what that 34 is connected to. But what do you do what happens when you add up 35 and 34, folks? 60 what? 69? Yeah, 69. So we go back to the serpent again. Right back to it. So now I'm going to get into some mainstream, and I want to show you some more scripted reality. So I'm going to talk about this amazing man. You've seen me do the decode on him, and I showed clearly that he is not in control of his reality. He's doing his job, and that's with mad respect. But I'm going to show you just something that happened with him. He came out with this program called Ophis, which means serpent. Okay, that's what it means. Now, I don't know why he named it that. I don't know where he got his ideas from. I know he got it from the voice of his head, but I'm going to show you how it's scripted and why it was chosen for him. So as you know, that he went to prison, I went to prison. It's something that we share. My birth name is Jason, his name is Jason. No coincidences there. Prison is 26, which reduces down to the number 8. This is his birth card. The 8 of diamonds, I have the 8 of spades. The infinity symbol, that's what this is right there. The prison, you're in the prison of infinity. He was born on June 9th. That's the 69, folks. Now, I don't know if he connected the Greek with his birthday, and you'd have to ask him. But I know all the other connections that I found. He didn't do it consciously. No, because we're living out a scripted, predestined reality. So prison is 26. I go back up here, folks. Just back up here. Right up here. Ribonucleic, deoxyribonucleic. 26. The prison. The DNA is the prison, folks. Okay? He's just doing his job. I'm a fan of his work. Well, let me show you some more. There's the sigil of Lucifer. I would imagine he'll probably just call it Enki. The sigil of Lucifer fits right over all the 8s, covers all the 8s perfectly. And then, how about this? How about his birthday? His birthday, numerology-wise, is a 107. And 107 is the 28th prime number. So what do you think he's being used by, folks? What do you think the serpent is tied to? Lucifer and Jesus. They're all tied to, it's just a big Ponzi scheme, folks, and we're being used. He's got the 69 birthday. He was born on the 160th day of the year, 160th, 161st. That's the golden ratio. Not having a choice, as great as he is. He's doing whatever he's supposed to be doing, but he's following the voice in his head. And now you know why he named it Ophis. Beyond what he's going to tell you. It's because he's scripted and he's following a script. And it's a beautiful script because you don't even have to try, folks. You just start to study it. It starts to study you back. So to finish this presentation up, I went ahead and I did the numerology of all 7 of those letters that have the crown spelled out in Hebrew. So this is Nun spelled out. And what does Nun spell out? 34. This is the 34th card in the deck. Nun, which is his birth card. And Lucifer's sigil sits right over the top of it, and Lucifer is the serpent. That's why, again, you watch Dr. Hillman's information. He's the Nun of Nazareth. The Nun, the serpent of Nazareth. Jesus was from Nazareth. That's why he beats up on all that material. And we also have the moon in here, ladies and gentlemen. The moon having 34 protons. The moon is the way you feel in this reality. And what's so fascinating about the moon and Mercury is they both have the exact same numerology. 23. Which links to the word blood. Which links to the word history. Why do you think Jason is a chronologist? He's supposed to. History. Okay? This is why, folks. These are the connections. This is tied to the tree of life. Remember, it's tied to the serpent, ladies and gentlemen. Just remember that. And the last couple slides that I'll go through here is if you go reference the narration of what is being instructed to create this menorah for the temple, is you need to create 3 branches on the right, 3 branches on the left. So essentially you have 3, 1, 3. Well, that's a prime number. And it's not just any prime number, it's the 65th prime number, and that is tied to the son of the morning. Who is the son of the morning, ladies and gentlemen? Come on, you can say it all with me. Lucifer. Who is the light of the world? Jesus. And they're all tied to Ra. Ra having the serpent over the sun disk. The rising of the sun, the midday sun, the sun setting, Horus, Set, Osiris. I mean, they're all part of this construct. They're all part of this construct, ladies and gentlemen. So the last, I have 2 slides left, 1 slide left. A couple slides left. How about when I do the alchemology? What is alchemology? Taking the letters and converting them into the periodic table. So Nun is the 14th letter. And of course it gets the 28. That's going to be silicon. Which is going to be the Nun, the middle pillar. So what's 28? Rhenium. And Rhenium is tied to Lucifer. Look at the 185. You add up all of these 7, you get 88 for the total Hebrew, but the alchemology, when you convert it into the periodic table, Rhenium. This is the numerology of Halil in Hebrew. Isaiah 14 verses 12. It's right here. I mean, covering this, the Egyptian sun god Ra or Re. See, right there? Ra or Rhenium. And there's the spelling of Lucifer in Isaiah 14 verses 12. To match this right here. All 7 of these, folks. It's light, man. The 7 colors of the rainbow are created by way of what? The light bringer. The light of the world. Are you seeing this? Rhenium means to repeat, to redo, to reincarnate. History repeats itself as 75. Even this ridiculousness right here, the ridiculousness of how scripted our reality is the numerology of the 2 scriptures that introduce the man and the woman. Genesis 2 verses 7, God breathes into the nostrils to create Adam. And then Genesis 2 verses 22, he takes the rib from Adam and makes the woman. Here is the numerology from the original Hebrew. 185, folks. Right there. Ra or Re, Lucifer, Jesus, Mercury, the serpent on top of the head of Ra. The serpent's tied to the sun, folks, tied to Mercury, tied to the moon. These are huge deals here, all tied to just using numbers, letters, and symbols. And the last slide I can tell you, folks, here is, here's the total. Here's the total for the letters spelled out for, what did I do? I just want to check something here. Yeah. Here's the total. 271 for all 7 letters spelled out. So Gimel, Tet, here's Nun. All of them is 271. That is a prime number. And just coincidentally, by mere coincidence, this thing right here is called a menorah, which is right there. Just right there. And these letters are the only ones that have the crowns. And now you do not need to be a Kabbalist. You don't need to go to anybody to ask them what it means. You now have the information on what this thing means. You now have it. And the 58, just go to numerology for a big kicker here. As above, so below. As above, so below. And then you have the puppet master. Okay, and if you go to chemistry, these are 58s. If you go to chemistry to get a deeper meaning, what has the 58? Nickel. It comes from devil's copper, the serpent. 28. 28. Okay, are you seeing this, folks? 28. All right, so now you know what all this stuff means and what it's connected to. And I would love to hear your comments. Keep them cordial. It's all about love in here. But I appreciate each and every one of you for stopping by. And if you made it all the way to the end, well, congratulations. Only about 10, 12% of you make it to the end. So the numbers are very small. But, we're in a very small niche group. So anyway, ladies and gentlemen, that's all I got for today. My name is Logan for Decode Your Reality. Until next time, we will see you later.